In this paper, we dissected two leaders, Elon Musk and John Stump. This presentation will take you through the background of each leader, the major differences between the two, an analysis of each using the course material, and external factors influencing each leader.
Elon Musk has a very good quote that speaks on his leadership style. He says, "Failure is an option here. If you are not failing, you are not innovating enough." Musk experienced success from his childhood when he wrote a code for his own video game at the age of 12. He has been a part of or created multiple companies such as Zip2 Corporation, PayPal, SpaceX, and Tesla Motors, to name a few. He contains the qualities of a transformational leader. For example, his great vision of where he sees his companies going and how him and his employees are going to get there is great. He also has a lot of confidence in himself and his abilities as well as his employees. He empowers people to think and act on their own, and if it fails, he tells them to try again until they become successful.
John Stump is infamously known for his role in the scandal of Wells Fargo in 2016. Millions of fake accounts were opened by employees of Wells Fargo because they were pushed to meet a sales incentive. These were opened without the knowledge of customers, and Stump claimed to have no knowledge of such things going on. He lied about all of it and never owned up to taking responsibility. Instead, he tried to throw innocent employees under the bus for being pressured into take part in this illegal act. Stump displayed unethical behaviors and a sense of arrogance when he believed he would not be the one responsible for any of this. His short-term thinking and need to impress the executive board led to the downfall of many employees at Wells Fargo and the loss of the trust of their customers. The three main differences we found between the two leaders were integrity, trust, and confidence. Elon Musk displays the qualities as a leader who does things the right way and treats all of his employees with respect. A leader that does that gains their employees' trust and builds their confidence. He also has confidence in himself, which is an effective trait for a leader to possess. On the other hand, Stump showed no integrity in purposely deceiving millions of customers and trying to place the blame on his employees. This shows a lack of confidence in himself and does not lead the people under him to believe he is trustworthy.
Trying to analyze the leadership attributes of two individuals from news sources without hearing from them directly is much like golfing with a basketball. We can get the ball on the hole, but it'll never be a hole-in-one. Analyzing both of the leaders through the StrengthsFinder research we had done, it seems that both men are relational and influential. Elon Musk seems to show a more prevalent strength in influencing his team. An influencer is able to gain support for an idea from his team and from others outside the company. He has been incredibly successful doing it. It is truly hard to say what he does and what his companies actually do. He has an ability to communicate a very large futuristic vision and convince people to risk large amounts of money for incredibly risky ideas. His main strength seems to be communication within the influencer strength. It takes a really good communicator to convince people to support private rocket building or electric cars. John Stump seems to be very relational with those closest to him. He seems to have kept his relationships few but close. His judgment seems to have been clouded by his admiration of his direct reports and desire to maintain amicable relationships. His past emails show a greater concern for maintaining the relationship than for fixing a problem. If he had broadened his sphere of relationships to all bank employees, he would have had to face the problems long before they became systemic. He seems to have avoided conflict as much as possible and used his strength of harmony to weather the storm. Unfortunately, it was too late, and the problem became too big for anyone. John Stump is an interesting study of transactional leadership. Using Bass's 1985 continuum model, it is hard to determine if Stump was downright laissez-faire. We believe it is more appropriate to place him in between transactional leadership and laissez-faire. Based on his own admissions, he was aware of abuses but chose to believe it wasn't as bad. He only responded when he had to. He was demonstrating a form of transactional leadership, specifically a passive management by exception. In other words, he would deal with an issue only when it impacted him personally, and he would come down hard on those he believed were the perpetrators. This was seen in his responses before Congress, placing the disciplinary action on entry-level employees versus himself and his senior executives. Mr. Stump may be a textbook case on this type of passive leadership. Elon Musk is a good example of transformational leadership. While we don't know how his specific leadership style is lived out in the lives of his employees, it does seem his imagination points in the direction of a transformational ideology. Using Kouzes and Posner's 5 practices of leadership, 2 specifically stand out and characterize Musk's leadership. Mr. Musk inspires a shared vision. Many of his visions haven't been fully developed, yet he can raise money and build a company around ideas. Whether a new rail system in California, a self-driven electric car, or sending rockets into space, Elon dreams big and taps into the imagination of our day and communicates it well. He also challenges the process. Nearly all of his projects disrupt the status quo. He's a pioneer in actually trying different ideas. At a stage in life when most people plan their retirement strategy, Elon Musk doubles down and tries something new and incredibly risky. Not all of his ideas are successful, and new technology will have its risks. Transformational leaders like this sink with the ship, learn from it, and try again. Only time will tell if Elon is a leader like this. Just as Nordhaus has a difficult time explaining what authentic leadership is and looks like, it is also difficult to discern the authenticity of Elon Musk. It seems his ideas outweigh his reputation. Time will only tell if he is moral and has deep character qualities. John Stumpf, on the other hand, has shown to struggle with authentic leadership. Taking a quick look at Mr. Stumpf through the lens of the Luthans and Avolio model, we consider the following after his company was accused of systemic fraud under his leadership. Self-awareness. It seems Mr. Stumpf struggled with being liked and truly wanted to appease his senior executives. He should have been aware of this tendency and developed accountability to keep him aware of this potential blind spot. Internalized moral perspective. Mr. Stumpf showed a lack of this behavior for some time. He was made aware over a decade ago about fraud happening in his institution and chose to believe a lie or to purposely allow it as long as net income was growing. Only when he was pressed to answer for it did he unconvincingly take some responsibility. Balanced processing. John didn't seem to have many people around him that would disagree and truly help him. His hands-off approach, as long as the money is flowing process, seems to have created a culture that would perpetuate this behavior as a norm. It shouldn't be surprising that no one would raise a red flag, and if you did, you were removed. Relational transparency. Mr. Stumpf may have been transparent with his senior executive staff, but completely unconvincing to the lowest level employee. His performance in front of Congress showed his lack of practice in having hard conversations about the company or the culture he perpetuates. It isn't surprising at one minute he can blame his lower level employees and the next take overall responsibility. His admissions of guilt were communicated in an unconvincing fashion. One can't know for sure the true motivations and intentions of an individual, but if past behavior is accurate, then the analysis of these 2 leaders above seems to be the most correct analysis of each. We can't say the analysis is a hole-in-one, unless of course you're using a basketball.
The automobile industry has high barriers to entry due to the saturated market and high cost of entry. Many new companies in this industry struggle to manage the economies of scale, which can result in increased debt and bankruptcy. As a young brand and pioneer to electric cars, Tesla has overcome many obstacles to maintain their profitability in the automobile market. Elon Musk presumed the role of CEO at the peak of Tesla's product development. To remain the leading innovator in electric cars, Musk wanted to give his employees a work environment that encourages creative thoughts. One could call this a no stupid suggestion zone. Musk is not afraid of failure, which means that his employees have free rein to design bold cars that will disrupt the norm of the automobile industry. This makes Tesla's stock more risky for stockholders, but at the rate Tesla is producing new products, they should expect a high payoff. The banking industry has many brands and branches around the world. The global market is advancing quickly in technology, which has made banking accessible to everyone at any time around the world. Due to recent threats of hacking, there has been a rise in the importance of ethics and customer service. Many businesses lose their credibility and spend millions in retribution when they expose customer information, whether it was intentional or because of not correcting security features. Wells Fargo company culture under John Stump was strained by aggressive sale goals. When a company's main concern is solely to grow the business and not put the customer first, that is when unethical practices ensue and legal costs begin to increase. As a leader, no matter what level you are stationed, it is important to hold yourself accountable and correct customer issues as soon as possible. In 2016, Wells Fargo faced a monumental ethical issue of employees creating fake accounts to achieve sale goals. Stump deflected blame from himself onto lower management instead of assuming responsibility for the company's mistake. If I were an employee under this type of leadership, I would be very disappointed that my CEO tried to point fingers instead of trying to own up and rectify the issue. Unfortunately for Wells Fargo, this took a hit to their credibility and they lost a large portion of their customers, which decreased their profitability for their stakeholders.
We came to find there was a clear difference in accountability between the two leaders. Musk instilled confidence in his followers and encouraged them to try new things. Stump did not hold himself accountable for his actions and let a lot of people down. Another takeaway from this project was the fact that the transformational leadership style proves to be one of the most effective styles of leadership. Musk displays a lot of the characteristics of transformational leaders, and therefore his companies experience great success. Stump was more of a transactional leader and did not both build relationships with people or care much about doing the right thing. Lastly, we found that an effective leader is trustworthy amongst their employees and the consumers.